You want to control cameras? I hope this works. Good morning. Welcome to this morning service. I hope everybody is doing well. We'll begin this morning service with the reading of Sambujo, followed by Junirai. So if you please join in the reading of Sambujo and Junirai. Namanda, 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 vishnamanda, namanda, namanda. 대식태닌 쇼크겸 아미나센 료성선 나의 힘이 매어하나고 문요
senno shamata gyonyo zobum yomo kujonya kushorenge Onga chorai minason Meze enjonyo mangat Ikoyonyo senni jingat Jonyo tenku kushira Onga chorai minason Annon chodai kanchiojum Jajum meoso shogun Nobu kumye doma kyoman Onga chorai minason Mumi mungo shojon Shutong kyo ketsunyo kokum Shosari yakutong jizai Onga chorai minason Jippo myomombo sashum Unyo shoma josanban Isho shujogan nikijum Onga chorai minason Onpai hoken chishoke Zengon shojo myodaisa Ohiza jonyo senno Ponga chorai minason Oshorai shomushi Gengen jinzu shi anda Sengo songyen jokunyo Onga chorai minason So jomu ngato Yakunyo sui nga tsuden yoro Ishu shippo myoji Onga chorai minason Isombu setsumu akumyo Yakumu nyoni angunovu Junin shishin kyohison Onga chorai minason Isomu ryoho benkyo Shoshu akuchishiki Ojo hutai shibonai Onga chorai minason Asetsu hisonku no fuji Chasem hoen Yokai sei Shonyam zengon Shonjo sham Eseshum Jo 싱은 동음 여도 세사이 보호튼 바다이 진 나만나 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 나만나.
Good morning again. If you please join in the reading of the Golden Chain. I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Good morning. Thank you for joining us in this morning's service. Last week or a couple of weeks ago, I asked the question to Dharma school students. How many times do we strike the Kansho on New Year's Eve? And how is it related to the Nenju? And what does it mean? So it's 3 questions, but they're all related. I hope some of you may remember what these questions and what the answers are to these questions. So I'll share them with you. When we strike the Kansho on New Year's Eve, traditionally we strike the Kansho 108 times, 108. And the Nenju that we have, although this is our daily use Nenju, the Nenju has a multiple. Is that right? Multiple? A fraction of, of the 108. So if you divide 108 by 4, how many do you have? 27? 27? Yeah. So you would have 27 beads. If you divide it by 3, you have 38, I think. Yeah, 38. So it's some multiple of that 108. But the question is then, why do we have 108? Usually in Dharma school, we learn that the Ojuzu kind of represents our family or our Sangha, right? All the beads are independent, but together we make the Sangha. Together we make our family. And that the 2 beads and this large bead, these are also, this large bead represents the Buddha. Oh, I forget what these little beads. I have to go back to Dharma school. I forgot what these little beads were. Oh. Parents. Okay, so parents and then Buddha. Is that right? Okay. Mikame Sensei is sharing with me what these beads mean. So, but the 108 is important as well, understanding this 108. Because these are 108 limitations that we have. that are based on our five senses and our mind. So the five senses are hearing, sight, smell, taste, touch, right? And then our mind. So there are six senses that we talk about in Buddhism. And these six senses have all of the other senses contained within them. So mind is not just mind. Mind has in it hearing, smell, taste, touch. It's also included in mind. As with hearing there's hearing, mind, sight, smell, taste, touch. So if we multiply six, right, the six senses times six senses, 6 times 6 is 36. Times 3, past, present, future. Right? So 3 times 36 is 108. But it's also another way of understanding the senses are the person that presents, the person that receives, and what is past. So the person that gives something, what is received, and the receiver. And that thing that is past could be anything, could be a material thing, could be an idea, could be a smile, right? And in each of these, the person that is giving with this way of seeing that gift, right? With mind and sight and smell and taste and touch and hearing. And the gift contains all of that. And then the receiver is receiving that gift. So giver, gift, receiver, 3 times 36, again, 108. But the question is, why are these limitations, right? Why are these thought of as limitations? We think that we see things as they are, but how we see things may be quite different from somebody else. Some of you may know that I am red-green colorblind. I know it may be a surprise to some of you, but nevertheless, I am red-green colorblind. I used to say that it was my mother's responsibility, that it was in her genetic makeup that caused this, but actually it's my father. It passed down within my father, I think. Oh dear, that one too, I got mixed up now. So from one of my parents, I received this genetic trait of being unable to distinguish between red and green. So when somebody points to something that's red and says, what color is that? Or maybe even more importantly, somebody might say, go to the corner that has the green sign. And I may go to the corner and not see anything. I may not see a green sign. I may see a red sign or a brown sign, because it's not only distinguishing between hard red and hard green, it's all of the in-between colors. People wonder, how do I drive? Well, the red is on top, green is in the middle. No, not green. Green, yellow is in the middle, green is in the bottom. Is that the order? So what if it's sideways? Yeah, sometimes you go to the intersection and it's sideways. The problem, that's not such a problem. The green almost looks white. It almost looks white. No matter what sign you look at, the yellow is in the middle and then red is on the other side. So don't worry. If you see me driving on the road, don't run away. I can tell. Stop signs are that shape. So, I know that stop sign. Some of that shape is not a stop sign. It's a yield, not yield. What's that other one? Go slow sometimes is the shape. Was it only the red one? I don't know. Anyway, so perception, right? We see things as they are. And that's a real kind of trivial in most cases, not being able to see or distinguish between red and green. But there are other things that we might not see in the same way. That's important to understand as Buddhists. As we go into the world, if we think, oh, I have all the answers, I know everything, then we were going to run into problems because there are other people who have other ideas, other ways of seeing the world that as Buddhists we need to become aware of, that we need to respond in ways that to try to understand what that other point of view might be like. We respond with compassion and kindness, not with anger, not with fear, but we try to understand what we see and how the other person's view of that is different from ours. It's not to give up or to say how I'm seeing the world is not important. It is important, but we have something to contribute in that discussion, in the way that we all see the world. We are all part, as human beings, we are all a part of this thing. And we may all have different ways of seeing the world. But if in seeing the world, we say, no, you're wrong, I'm right, and we end it at that, then it ends, right? But if we see things differently and are able to work toward understanding how we see the world differently, then there is an opportunity to share that view of the world. So, 108. We ring the bell at New Year's Eve 108 times. Dojuzu, Nenju, has some multiple of. Oh, Mr. Nishimura, is it multiple or is it factor? Maybe it's multiple. A number that when multiplied by a whole number equals to 108. I don't know what that is. So 27, 36, what they represent, again, they represent these limitations that we have. And as Buddhists, we acknowledge those limitations, especially as Jodo Shinshus, especially as people of Jodo Shinshu. We acknowledge those limitations. And as we acknowledge those limitations, we also recognize how our lives continue to be supported. And with gratitude and appreciation, we live our lives. With gratitude and appreciation, we respond and we say, Namo Amida Butsu, for the assurance of Amida Buddha. Even as this foolish person with all of these limitations, making all kinds of mistakes as I go through the world, I am still assured by Amida Buddha. And I simply respond and say, Namo Amida Butsu, in gratitude and appreciation. So, how many times do we hit the bell? 108. How many beads on a Nenju? 108, or some number multiplied by a whole number equals to 108. Whatever that is. Thank you very much for joining us this morning for this morning's Dharma School service. I'm going to try again to end with a video. But before we end, if you please join in Gassho and Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Oh, I should remind everybody, next week is Hanamatsuri, and we have a guest speaker all the way from her office at the Betsuin. Mikame Sensei will be our guest speaker. But there's only one service next week, okay, at 10 o'clock, our Hanamatsuri service. Please be sure to join us for that. Okay, and with that, I will try, hopefully, start this. Bye-bye. How come that didn't work?
Dharma school is over for another day. Let us gather round the shrine, bow our heads and say, thank you, teacher, for your help. Thank you, everyone. Buddha's love will keep us safe till our work is done.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's service. We'll begin this morning's service with the reading of Sambujo, followed by the Gata Sanbutsuge. Namanda, 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 namanda.
Sakamoto Betsuin Yonya Kujuma Kunyorai Yongen Josemorin Shonga Kunai On Jipo Kaimon Shojin Sammai Chi E Itonkumuryo Shoshake Ujinai Zennen Shobutsu Hokai Gujin Jinno Kungongai Taimum Yoyokunu Se Sonyamunin no Shishi Jinno Kumunyo Kukungonai Ji Jimyo Komyo Iso Jinno Dai Senganga Sabut Zai Sho Ho Okado Shoji Mi Fengye Natsu Fuse Joi Kai Nin Shojin Yose Sammai Chi E Ijongo Se Tokumut Fengya Shingan Isai Kungo Isadai Ankeshi Obut Yakusen no Kumam Muryo Sho Shunyo Jakuyo Isai Shito Shomutsu Hunyon Shohunyaku Hinyon Ja Shomutsu Sengai Buhunanye Mushu Setsu no Komyo Shisho Shisho no Kunyo Se Shojin Ni Jinan Yo Yona Samutsu no Kuno Dai Ichi no Shungi Myo Dojo Jozetsu no Kunyo Nai On Nimuto Songato Aimin Donatsu Isai Jipporai Sho Shinnetsu Shoujo Itongako Keraku Annon Homutsu Shimyo Zenga Shinsho Tsungan no Hi Riki Shosho Yoku Jimmo Seson Chi Emunye Joryo Shison Shinga Shinyo Keryo Shinshi Shokun no Kuchu Nangyo Shojin Ninja
Namanda, 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 namanda. Would you please join in the reading of the three treasures? And we are reading the three treasures that's in the service book on page 8. Hard is it to be born into human life? Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One? Now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in the great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be freed from all hindrances, become units of true accord in a life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the thought of this teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this morning's service. We're fortunate to have as our speaker today Michael Jones. Michael Jones, as you know, is one of our minister assistants. He has also served as our president of the Betsuin and has in many capacities served our temple. So I'd like to welcome and introduce Michael Jones as our speaker this morning.
Thank you, Rinban. Good morning, everyone. Please join me in Kansho. If the problem can be solved, why worry? If the problem cannot be solved, worrying will do no good. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Well, thank you, everyone. Appreciate you being here for the service, and hopefully you've had yesterday or maybe today a chance to go out and do some Easter egg hunting and having some fun with the kids. We did ours yesterday on a remote Zoom, so all the families gathered and did their stuff individually, but we had a chance to bring the family together, at least virtually, to say hi to each other and to celebrate our longstanding tradition of getting together during this weekend. So hopefully you all have too, and hopefully someday even better, we'll all get back together again physically. You know, it seems as though we've been asked, and we've asked many times over the past few years to rise up and to speak out. There have been many causes worthy of our words and our actions. You may not relate to all of the causes, and even for the ones to which you can relate, you may feel uncomfortable speaking or acting out. Even the passivity of a peaceful march may seem too extreme or simply too dangerous. Buddhists tend to be a fairly quiet group. With our propensity not to do harm in word or deed, and add that to the fact that most of the members of this and every other Jodo Shinshu temple have a Japanese or Asian heritage. This is another quiet group. But there's nothing in the Dharma preventing you from speaking your mind. There are no teachings which would cause you to refrain from taking a peaceful action. However, we are living in a time and environment where it appears to be particularly risky, especially for the Asian community, to speak out or to act out. But with mindfulness of timing and your surroundings, there has never been a more important time for the voices of reason and harmony to be heard. We had the good fortune of having Reverend Blaine Higa deliver the Dharma message for our Ohigan service just a couple of weeks ago. His talk was timely and thought-provoking. Reverend Higa encouraged us to allow the Dharma to guide us not into silence, but rather into action, but with that action fueled by love and compassion. Now, I can understand if there are some of you who think, that's a nice message, but I think the Reverend just told us to bring a knife to a gunfight. And I would submit those folks are half right. We may be walking into a gunfight, figuratively speaking, hopefully. But I think what he told us to bring is a chair and a mirror. It's going to take some time, and we should be familiar with who we are dealing with. It would be difficult to disagree that we are living in a country and time which is polarized on many differentiating vectors: race, religion, political party, country, and many others. Right now, the apparent thought process that dominates our culture appears to be determining which person is right and which person is wrong. And the only test that is constantly used by both sides of any argument is, do you agree with me? If not, you're wrong, and I'm right. This doesn't leave too much room for discussion. So why are we so dogmatic? Why do we dig in our heels and hold on to our opinions, sometimes even if in the face of facts that logically contradict our view? I think most of you know this answer. It's a fundamental concept you've heard a lot in our temple or in many Buddhist talks: attachment. Once we lock onto an idea, we become attached to it. This is especially true once you have committed yourself to it by talking to other people, telling them your view, posting it on Facebook or on Twitter. Adam Grant, author of the book Think Again, discusses this concept of attachment in detail. If knowledge is power, he says, then knowing what we do not know is wisdom. Grant also quotes another famous doctor, Dr. Fraser Crane, who said, I have a degree from Harvard. Whenever I'm wrong, the world makes a little less sense. Anyway, Grant takes what I view as a rather Buddhist approach to this issue. Let's see if you agree. Once we form an opinion, we latch onto it. If we are so bold as to tell others our opinion, now we are attached to that opinion, and it is attached to us. We make it part of who we are, part of our identity. If we change our opinion, we lose part of who we are. If we express that change of heart to others, how will they react? If they react negatively, we may lose friends. Those friends are part of our identity too. This me in the mirror I brought with me, remember the mirror, is beginning to disappear. Keep this up and there will be no self looking back at me. No self? Oh, sorry, that's another Dharma talk for another time. Changing my opinions means changing my identity, the way that I see myself, the way that others see me. But is this a bad thing or a good thing? It's really just a thing, neither good nor bad. Not necessarily more correct, just evolved from before. My opinion may change as I learn more about a situation, or I could just be understanding my own feelings better. The Dharma teaches us that everything is a result of causes and conditions. Everything is interdependent. It also teaches us that everything changes. Nothing stays the same. Think about some of the things you believed when you were a child that you know now are not true. Think back to your teen years. Were there things about which you were absolutely certain, which you now know are vastly different than you believed then? For most of us, the answer would be yes, lots of things. I know for me, there are quite a few. You're not the same person as now as you were then. You're not the same person as you were 10 years ago, 10 months ago, 10 weeks ago, or even 10 minutes ago. And it's not just you that has changed. The causes and conditions that created the truth upon which you based your opinion have changed. The person you are is based on causes and conditions. The person you were was based on the causes and conditions at that time. So why should we be surprised if our opinions change over time? We change over time. Adam Grant's book makes the case that we should be open to having new opinions. In fact, we should constantly make room for new opinions. There's a reason why the book carries the title, Think Again. Grant is encouraging us to grow by allowing our views to evolve. But there are anchors weighing us down. Once again, Grant begins to sound like a Buddhist sensei as he discusses the need to do two important things. First, detach the present from the past. This brings in the concepts of constant change, including the change to the causes and conditions that created the truth of the past. And live in the present to see the world as the world really is now. In the book, Everyday Suchness, many Dharma talks given by Reverend Gyomei Kubose are documented. His talk on non-attachment is appropriate to our subject today. Reverend Kubose said that most of life's troubles are caused by attachments. Our many moods and emotions, anger, sadness, greed, envy, are the result of our attachments. In his talk, Reverend Kubose recounted the ancient story of a Zen master and his student who were traveling together when they happened upon a young woman who was too fearful to cross over a swollen stream to reach her village. The Zen master offered to help and picked her up in his arms and carried her safely across to the other side. The student was confused as he had been taught that a monk should not get near and certainly never touch a woman. As the student and master continued walking toward their temple, the student continued to brood over the situation. Finally, he could no longer hold back, and he asked his master why. Contrary to his teachings, did he take that young woman in his arms to take her across the stream? To which the master replied, "You fool, I left that girl back there on the shore. Are you still carrying her?" Kubose Sensei went on to explain that non-attachment is not indifference to or an escape from life's problems. Life should not be escaped, he said. Life and its problems should be squarely faced and dealt with, but they are not the things to be attached to. And similarly, we need to leave the past in the past. We can learn from the past, but that is not a reason to dwell on the past. We cannot change our behavior in the past, but we can make amends with anyone we offended and move on. We can adjust our perspective of people based on their actions in the past, but that does not mean we should continue bringing up the past transgressions. We should forgive, but we should not forget. To forgive is to let go of the past and to allow the past to let go of you. Not forgetting is learning, evolving, and growing based on experiences. The next idea from Grant is to detach your opinions from your identity. Opinions are ephemeral. They can and should evolve over time. Frontal lobotomies and amputations used to be very common treatments for things we now treat with pharmaceuticals or therapy. If you or someone you know suffers from an occasional behavioral issue, I'm sure you could appreciate the medical profession changing its collective mind about treatments. The fact is, we are polarized in our thinking because we are attached to our opinions. We need to realize that this is also true for those on the other side of any issue. The solution is not a black and white, I'm right and you're wrong approach, trying to get the others to see the light. We have to be prepared to listen, to allow them to be heard. When we show a willingness to open ourselves up to other thoughts, it's more difficult for the people on the other side to be rigid. I am not my opinions. If I were my opinions, I would probably never change my view. This attachment, this bond, can be quite strong. We have a habit of viewing ourselves as logical, open-minded people who can listen to and learn from others. But was that the feeling you had the last time you got into a heated political discussion with someone? Or did you dig in your heels and protect your turf, your truth, your identity? A couple of years ago, maybe longer, when the Black Lives Matter movement was just at the beginning to make news, I had a rather heated discussion with a proponent of the movement. I was countering that I thought that all lives mattered. If the analogy of stepping on a landmine was ever accurate, it was precisely what I had done here. We were both entrenched in our views, but the result was that I began looking into the subject and I learned that I was clearly on the wrong side of the issue, not because of prejudice, but due to an ignorance of the subject and a lack of realization regarding the incendiary nature of the all lives matter phrase. I had to let go of my previous convictions. Thankfully, my identity was not attached to my previous opinions on this topic. I went back to that person and I thanked them for helping me to better understand the issues. Though this was not particularly easy, it would have been much more difficult had I identified with my opinions. I'm not saying that it will be easy, quick, or that it will even be successful in the near future. But unless we understand why we are so convinced we are right, what hope do we have to understand why others think they are right? Unless we are prepared to open our eyes to new information and to be willing to rethink our opinions, then how can we expect anyone else to simply abandon their opinions, their identities so easily? Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda, namanda. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. Have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Always a wonderful Dharma message and very appropriate for the times we are in. We have many opportunities to practice the Dharma. Listening, certainly fundamental practice. Hearing, fundamental practice. But then to go out into the world to see if what we're hearing and what we're understanding is a way in which we can approach the world. And again, we have many opportunities to practice the teachings of the Buddha. Again, thank you, Michael, and thank you everyone for joining us this morning for the service. Next week is Hanamatsuri. Our guest speaker for that service will be the insuppressible, the effluent, bubbly, no, effervescent. I should not use these words. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But Mikame Sensei will be our speaker for the service. It is going to be at 10 o'clock. So please plan to join us. Just one service. There's no 9:30 service. The service, the Hanamatsuri service, will begin at 10 o'clock. So again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us this morning. Please take care. Please be safe. We're still not quite out of the pandemic. We're seeing some possible end to this, where we certainly not go back to normal, but we've been able to kind of engage more in the things that we are familiar with. Coming back to the temple, joining our friends and family to spend time, share time together. So again, thank you very much for being here this morning. Please remember again that next week Sunday is our Hanamatsuri service at 10 o'clock. I'll see you then. Thank you. As you close, will you please join in Gassho? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.